What if I told you that all of us are guilty of having committed a crime at some point in our lives? Now, India stands at 81st rank out of 144 countries across the world in terms of its crime index. The way that these indices are calculated is based off of reports or crimes that have been reported. So it obviously does not include crimes that have never been reported. But I'm not talking about the really big crimes. I'm talking about, like, when was the last time you broke a red light at a traffic signal because you thought there were no cops around? Or you drove on the wrong side of the road because you wanted to escape a traffic jam? Or maybe you didn't wear a helmet when you went out on your bike because you were just going to the next lane to get some vegetables. Now, these are just simple traffic violations, and I know that they're not really big, serious crimes, but we still commit them because we feel like they don't have big consequences like some of the other big crimes have. But what if they were treated serious? What if they were treated as serious as a murder? Because think of it, when you break a red light at a traffic signal, you could potentially kill someone if you meet with an accident. The chances of you meeting with an accident are more if you continue to break red lights at every traffic signal. Now, we understand that, but we still keep committing these small crimes. Some of us commit small crimes, and some others commit really big crimes. So, what influences crime in a country like India? Now, India is a very big, diverse country, and there could be 1,000 different reasons that influence crime in our country. But in today's video, I'm going to talk about 3 big reasons which I feel have the biggest and highest influence of crime in our country. And what should we be asking from the next government, or the ones that want to come into power in 2024 and help reduce crime in India? And what should we be asking our government to help reduce crime in India by controlling these 3 factors, and of course many others too? Now, the first thing I want to talk about is the civic sense, or to be more precise, the lack of civic sense. Now, what do we mean by civic sense? Civic sense means respecting the law, respecting other fellow human beings, being more considerate, and being more tolerant about others. Now, obviously, in India, we have a very poor civic sense, which is one of the big reasons why it influences crime in a country like ours. Now, there could be multiple reasons, which is why we have poor civic sense. It could be because of the poverty, it could be because of the casteism or the racism, or it could be because of the lack of proper education in this subject at homes and in schools. And I think the government is in a very good and strong position to influence a good civic sense in a country like India. So we should really be asking the government on what are their plans and how do they plan to help improve the civic sense in India. Because if everyone in India becomes more considerate about other fellow human beings, chances are that the crime rate will automatically drop. The second thing I want to talk about is the lack of trust in our judicial system. Now, all of us know that there is a judiciary system that exists in our country that is supposed to provide justice to us, that is supposed to provide safety to its citizens. But we know across the country that opinions are divided in terms of how much can we actually trust this judicial system. Now, I'm reminded of the 911 helpline that's available in the US. We in India have a similar number that we can call on to get police help, like the 100 or 100. But the awareness about this and the services that's offered through this are rarely clear to all citizens across the country. In the US, for example, there is a series made on 911 and the kind of calls they get, the kind of action that's taken when these calls are received, and what sort of help do citizens get through this service. But in India, we hardly know what the outcome is. We hardly know what is the experience of an Indian when they call for help on these numbers. So first of all, I think what we need from our government is to make us more aware of what sort of services are offered through this. What sort of action and how quickly will that action be taken if we call on these numbers for help? And more importantly, have something of an awareness campaign, maybe through media, maybe through the television, or maybe create a series like the US did on the calls that 100 receives or 100 receives and the kind of responses that citizens have got. Now you can imagine how many people across the country are going to tune in to a series like this just to watch what happens. This will create a lot of awareness of what these services are and what to expect. Imagine the number of calls that will go to 100 if they make a series like this, just so that people reach out and are willing to trust the judicial system in our country to give them justice instead of trying to take the law in their own hands. The third thing I want to talk about, this could be something where maybe we could differ in our opinions, and that's totally fine. But the third thing is the violence in our movies. Now, I know some of us will say that, hey, look, there is some sort of a freedom of expression on the part of an entertainer. And after all, these movies are made for just entertainment, and you should take it as that. And if you feel that way, that's great. If you feel that these are just for entertainment and you consume it as just that, then chances are that the violence that you see on screen is not going to translate into your real life. But India, as a country, is known for hero worship. People idealize and treat movie actors as if they were demigods on earth. And it's sad to see that these movie stars that are known across the country use violence in every movie to bring justice for themselves because they don't trust the judicial system around them, and so they take the law in their own hands and become violent in order to bring justice for themselves or their family or their friends or whoever. But that influences a lot of people. A lot of us might feel like that's just entertainment value, but a lot others are influenced negatively. And at some point, that violence translates from on screen into their real lives, maybe on the roads, maybe at homes, and so on. So I think the government needs to step in here really and put some sort of restriction, or in fact, I would say a complete ban on the violence that actors or movie makers can show in their movies. Now, that does not mean that we're taking away their livelihood or their bread and butter, because there are movies that have no depiction or no scenes of violence that have made it really big in the box office and have been really big hits in this country. So there is an appetite to consume that kind of entertainment here as well. And so let the creative juices of these movie makers flow, and let them come up with newer plots and newer stories where there is no violence, at least not from the main protagonist, like the main hero, where they keep showing that they keep taking the law in their own hands in order to bring justice. And if the government puts this kind of restriction or ban on violence in movies, I'm sure it will stop influencing some of the youth or some of the people in our country in resorting to violence and taking the law in their own hands just because they think that's the only way out. So these are the three big things that I feel that influence crimes in India, and what we think we should be asking the government to come in and restrict or control or create awareness, whatever they can do to help control the crime rate in India and bring it further down, increase our ranking in the world in terms of crime index, and make this country safer. Let me know if you agree in the comment section, and if you think there are other factors that we should be looking at and asking from our government. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel, and please share this video with more Indians across the country as we get closer to the elections, so that people are more aware of what they should be looking for in the next government. I'll see you in the next video.